We don't know how many times it's happened, but we know it's very rare that two brothers meet in a Utah high school varsity basketball game as opposing head coaches. That's what took place Friday when Riverton faced Taylorsville. Rod Zundel introduces us to the Wilsons, where basketball is a family tradition.
I don't know how much of a mentor I've been. I think both of them are smart enough to listen to other people.
Meet Mark Wilson. After his playing days at Utah State and Southern Utah, he was a head coach for 17 years at Bear River and Cypress. His son Skyler, first-year head coach at Riverton. And his youngest son Garrett, first-year head coach at Taylorsville.
Hey, man. Sorry, I missed you. Kind of an exciting time for us. Really is, because, you know, that's what they both wanted to do. And we followed them both, and so whatever they wanted to do, we were there along with them.
Look in and look opposite.
Skyler, when did you realize that you wanted to follow in Dad's footsteps and be a head coach?
From a pretty young age. I think as soon as I was growing up, basketball is what I loved to do. You know, he's always loved what he did, built some great relationships along the way. And I think as a kid growing up, you see that and see, you know, everywhere we go, somebody knows your dad and says hi. And, you know, I think that's had a big impact on me.
I'd go into Dad's locker rooms when I was, 6 years old and sit there listening to him talking to his teams. I wanted to be a teacher, too. I'd go to school with him on my off-track times and hang out at school watching him teach. It was just, I didn't really even think there was anything else I could do. It was just do what Dad did.
But as a father, knowing that they want to follow in your footsteps, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. At the end of the day, for me, to have them doing what they love to do is the most important thing.
Right here, while we're running back, our eyes are this way.
Can you narrow it down to one of the main aspects that you've taken from your dad as a head coach in your style?
I think the biggest thing is just, you know, your values, what you value. I think growing up, it was never about wins and losses and X's and O's, going to his games. It was about kind of the whole experience and especially the relationships that you build along the way.
The things I've taken from him have been the talks that we've had after the fact, now that I am a coach. Things that he's done, he can help me out with, or things that he did that he says, hey, I wish I had the opportunity to do it now like you're doing it, or have a different perspective. It's about relationships, about the stuff that you see a guy 20 years down the road and he comes up to me and says, hey, Coach, you remember me?
Okay, Pops, is there one aspect of your coaching style that you don't want these guys to put in their own?
Yeah.
Wait. He's got his hand raised.
And they know this.
Everybody knows it. It's just like elephant in the room that we just all, it's referees, man. It's just something about those referees, those guys in stripes.
You know, these two do a much better job at handling that than I ever did. I wore my heart on my sleeve, and they're much better at that. I don't remember talking to either one of them about spending an afternoon in the principal's office talking about the last game, and I had a lot of those. And I don't know that these guys have, and I admire them for it. That's both of their, I think, finest qualities.
1, 2, 3.
Do you remember when he came home after a win or after a tough loss, how he handled that?
Yeah, I think one of the things he did best was, whether it was a win or a loss, at the end of the day, us as little kids, we knew how the game ended, but he wouldn't treat us any different, win or loss, or my mom. We'd come home and it was just fun. It was just like, there's Dad's back, and you couldn't tell.
I take that just specifically with my kids. When the game's over, and my little 4-year-old and 1-year-old run up, game's over, regardless. And that was always one thing. I never felt like, come home and, Dad's off. You can't talk to Dad. It was back to us as a family.
I think he has priorities straight, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever said something in a huddle or in practice, they go, oh my gosh, that's my dad?
As soon as I start barking at a ref, that's usually what I'm like, Dad,
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that.
Yeah.
Great story. Of course, that game on Friday, Skyler and Riverton would get the best of Garrett and Taylorsville, 74-54.